Hey guys, today we're covering literal equations. The definition of a literal equation is equations with multiple variables. As you can see in the middle part here, it is asking us to solve for x. So we're used to the two-step equation on the left, 2x minus 5 equals 13. We're going to isolate x. We're going to add 5 to both sides, divide by 2. We're going to try that now. Instead of numbers, we're going to put other letters. That's where the multiple variables comes into play. So we add b to both sides. We can't add c and b, they're not like terms, so we just simply write c plus b. Then we need to divide by a, and we got c plus b over a. Nothing wrong with that. It looks a little weird. It's going to feel a little uncomfortable, but that's okay. Some of the similarities and differences between the two equations, both use opposite operations. So the inverse operations to isolate. We're using that same principle that we do when we solve equations. The second part is the literal equation doesn't simplify nicely due to multiple variables. That's that uncomfortable part where we just aren't really sure what it's like. All right, so let's get started on some of our own problems. It asks us to solve for a certain variable. So I'm going to solve for w right here. The operation between the L and the W is multiplication. To undo the multiplication, I need to divide both sides by L. So I have A over L equals W. The symmetric property says I can just switch that and write W equals A over L. There's my answer. Number 2, solve for H. That's this guy right here. I want to get H by itself. B and H are being multiplied. To undo multiplication, we divide. So I'm going to divide both sides by B. So I've got A over B equals H. Symmetric property, switch it. H equals A over B. Again, remembering inverse operations is really important in this case, because these guys will cancel out every single time. We cancel them out and we isolate that variable by itself. Here it's asking for t. Here's my t. Again, multiplying, we're going to divide by r. Cancels these guys out. D over r equals t. These are famous formulas. So this is an area formula. That's another area formula. This is a distance formula. You're going to see a lot of these. They will pop up in class, they will pop up on keystones, on assessments. Looking at number 4, we have to solve for t. Well, p and r are all multiplying. I can divide by 2 at the same time. Divide by pr, divide by pr, I over pr equals t. Symmetric property again. T equals I over pr. Let's look at the last 4 on this paper. Again, this is going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to look weird because we're used to having a number solution. So like our variable equaling one number. A literal equation, it's going to equal multiple variables doing different operations. So number 5, it's a volume formula. We're solving for the height. I need to get rid of my length and my width, so I'm going to divide by LW. The L's cancel out, the W's cancel out. Volume over the length times width equals the height. Symmetric property. Rewrite that with my H on the left. Now we're going to enter a little bit of a different situation. Solve the problem for R. Okay, well, it's being multiplied, so let's divide by pi. You've got A over pi equals r squared. We haven't quite got into this yet, but how do you get rid of that squared symbol? Well, the inverse of squaring something is taking the square root of something. So we're going to take the square root of both sides. So the square root of A over pi equals r. If I write that with my r on the left side, the radius, I've got r equals the square root of A over pi. That's my answer. 2 more to go on this front side. It's okay if you're feeling a little panicky or a little odd. It takes a lot of practice and a lot of repetition for you to get used to this. I'm solving for C, here's my C. I'm subtracting S. The inverse of subtraction is addition, so I'm going to add S to both sides. M plus S equals C. C equals M plus S. Here's my multiple variables. I'm showing the operation one step at a time. One more, I'm solving for M. So I'm dividing by V, so I'm going to multiply by V. So I've got dV equals M. Simply rewrite that, M equals dV. That's part 1 of literal equations. This is Mrs. Straight signing off.